about 5 minutes away from kickoff, but those will be filled by the ceremony that I've just outlined, which will be starting any moment now. The teams, as you've said already, Russ, today, this is a game between two teams in an identical position in the Premier League, both very much needing a win, and would be in a very vulnerable position if they didn't get one. And we are, of course, entering November now. One more international break in 2 weeks' time, and then it'll be helter-skelter through the winter for the Premier League, culminating, of course, as it always does, with Christmas and the New Year. And both clubs don't want to be down there, and I can see the players assembling now in the tunnel. The two clubs don't want to be down there when the year turns, that's for sure. And it's games like this, as Alvin said earlier, that West Ham have got to look at and think, well, come on, this is one we really ought to win. I can see Joe Hart down there, by the way, who was on loan here last season, receiving a few well wishes and hugs from West Ham players. And here they come now, the two teams, led by the referee Roger East, his two linesmen Matthew Wilkes and Derek Eaton, and the Bubbles theme, which is always part of the party here at the National Stadium, and it was, of course, at Upton Park for many years when this man on my right played so many games, Alvin Martin. And the bubbles are now actually being pumped out of the machine down there by the tunnel here at West Ham's new home. Burnley are wearing all black today, almost significant that in a way. West Ham will be in their normal claret and blue, and now I think as the two teams line up, if you hear me go quiet, it'll probably be because the match announcer will want to tell the supporters about the ceremony that will follow. For the moment, the two sides are just shaking hands, just in from the touchline here. We're high back in the main stand here at the National Stadium, quite a long way from the pitch, but with a very central view. A pitch, by the way, that looks in pretty good nick to me, and the photographers have gathered there in their numbers down by the touchline, and there are flags being held in respect already to commemorate the weekend, and our friends from the forces encircling the centre circle there. And any moment now the referee will call to attention the players and the supporters, while we here at Stratford, we make a point of paying respects to those involved in the wars. It's the teams being announced. I don't think there's any great surprise about the West Ham team, by the way, because so many players not available. I mean, look at this: Noble suspended, Yarmolenko, Lanzini, Sanchez and Wilshere. That's four midfield players, or potential midfield players or attackers, who are all out injured. So West Ham having to almost go down to the bare bones to field a recognisable midfield, but they will be pleased, of course, that Arnautovic is back, because that was a big question mark. Would he be fit to play? And the answer is yes, he is. And should he have any problems during the game, I see that Pellegrino has got three strikers on the bench: Michail Antonio, Javier Hernandez and Lucas Perez, who scored in midweek, of course, against Tottenham. Now, if you have just tuned in, the Burnley team does show a couple of changes. If you're with us now on TalkSport 2, we've got a call up front. We've got a call up front for Mate Vidra, but more of that in a moment, because what I was saying to you a few minutes ago is about to start.
And those who lost their lives at the King Power Stadium last Saturday. Please welcome wreath bearers David Gold, Joint Chairman of West Ham United, Clive Holt, Director of Burnley FC, and Roxana Fiaz, Mayor of Newham. November is a month traditionally set aside to remember those who lost their lives during the two world wars and other conflicts, looking back in gratitude to the 11th day of the 11th month in 1918, when the guns of the West They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
And the National Stadium breaks out in applause and in recognition of the ceremony that we've just stood and observed here in East London, and I'm sure it's the same pretty much around the country. Not necessarily all this weekend, because of course clubs tend to have this recognition of the festival when they play their last home game before the 11th of November, so it's quite appropriate that it should be here today. Well respected, Alvin, I thought that.
Yeah, very emotional. It always is a very emotional weekend, but I think double so with the tragedy at Leicester. I think it's been doubled, and as you said, very well observed. I think it's something now that the players have got to try and put behind them, concentrate on the game, and focus on that, because it's a really big game for both Burnley and West Ham.
And it's just started with West Ham playing from left to right in front of us here at the National Stadium and trying to get the ball forward straight away. It was a very early touch there for Arnautovic. The players coming down the right-hand side, and here's the young man Diangana, who's been making a big impression for the Hammers. He's trying to cut in from the right-hand side here. Zabaleta was up in support there. Defour got it away for Burnley. This is quite an up-front start by West Ham. They're attacking the goal to our right. The ball is on the edge of the Burnley penalty area as I speak, and it's being worked out on that far side. Cresswell is well forward for West Ham in this attack, and there's no doubt about it, they've been told to get going on the front foot. They've given the ball away for the first time there, and Burnley are able to clear, and Sam Vokes won't reach that. Quite a promising start, that, Alvin.
Well, I think it's something that Pellegrini wants to see in his team, John. He wants to see them being offensive. He knows that that's the makeup of the club, and he wants to see them, looking at getting at the opposition very early on. I think, if you start off in the right vein at this stadium with this supporter base, they react to it, and they react really positively to it. So I think it's something that I think all West Ham fans demand. Let's attack first and foremost, defend secondly, and we'll stay with you. The fans will get behind you, and it creates something. And this ground has been criticised in the past, but when they see good football, the atmosphere follows on.
Well, not many people know as much about the culture of West Ham as Alvin Martin. I'd put him in the same bracket as Billy Bonds and Trevor Brooking in that department, and it's lasted many, many years, and it's a love affair with the supporters, which, in spite of what may have happened with the change of stadium, still very, very much there and clear in its existence. Here's Zabaleta for West Ham on the right-hand side for them to Diawara, just down in front of us inside the touchline, just inside the Burnley half, but he was robbed there, quite surprisingly in a way, by Aaron Lennon, who's just come back into the side after a week of illness. The ball's been worked out by Burnley over onto the right-hand side now, the far side from us, and the middle two today, Westwood and Defour, they're going to have to battle it out with the West Ham midfield players. Defour's on the ball now, just inside the West Ham half, and plenty of continuity about the play in these opening minutes. That's meant for Vokes, the centre forward of Burnley, who was beaten in the air by Zabaleta, and West Ham come away again down their right hand side. I'm quite excited about seeing this Grady Diangana, the 20-year-old who's been made a bit of an impression in the first part of this season. Scored twice against Macclesfield. He's got some talent, Alvin.
Well, he has, and he's young, and he's direct, and fullbacks won't like playing against him. Defenders don't like players that run at you and want to take you on and play with a risk factor in the game. He just made a mistake there on the halfway line. You said it during the commentary, John. he chose to take somebody on in far too deep an area and lost the ball. Lennon dispossessed him, and it also was an opportunity for Burnley to get at West Ham. So he's got to still learn where to do it and when to do it, and he will do. I'm sure, from what I've heard, he's an intelligent player, but first and foremost, he's full of energy, and players who've got that energy and that willingness to run at you always cause problems.
I know from reading the programme here that West Ham are hopeful of quite a few young players coming through their academy over the period of the next year or two. In fact, a couple of them were named on the bench in the week, although they're not there today, but they will be in time. Joe Powell and Connor Coventry. But it's a club that's produced its own, of course, going right back to the days of Bobby Moore, Jeff Hurst and Martin Peters. So, you know, that tradition will never die here in East London as Burnley take the throw in. That was Charlie Taylor, the left back, who threw that down the line, but it's come back to West Ham. It's a Diop on the ball, and he plays it back in turn to Fabianski. Fabianski and Joe Hart, the two goalkeepers today, have made 44 saves each so far this season. So and those are the shots that were on target, by the way. West Ham attacking now from the halfway line, coming forward on their right hand side. It's Zabaleta with a chance to get a cross in maybe here. He checks onto his left foot, and Nautovic is in the and Nautovic in fact retreats and wins the ball back here for West Ham, number 7, and he's on the edge of the area now, and he's found Deonwara, and the young man gets a chance to get a cross in here, and it's scrambled away by a Burnley defence that of course is solid, as we know, in terms of personnel. Tarkowski and me, familiar figures in the centre, and West Ham are moving the ball around now. It's Obiang in the centre of the midfield, and now it comes out to Snodgrass. Snodgrass is moving towards the edge of the Burnley penalty area, and Burnley have had to retreat, and Arnautovic is in there as the cross goes in. It's moved away by Matthew Lowton on the far side, and he clears into the West Ham half of the field. Alvin.
Well, you can see a contrast in styles, can't you? West Ham are playing the ball incisively through the departments of their team, short passes, quick passes, and whenever it breaks down, Burnley are looking to be more positive in terms of getting the ball forward and direct, and hitting Vokes and looking at getting second ball. It's a really hard thing to play against, John, so it's which one really gets the chance and then sticks it away. And certainly the first goal in this game is going to be important for both, because if Burnley get it, they're great at hanging on to leads, whereas West Ham get it, it's going to lift the crowd.
Absolutely. Felipe Anderson there on the left hand side has just pushed the ball to his left, and now it's gone for Burnley player, and it's loose at the moment down on this right hand side. Zabaleta will collect that for the Hammers. But the ball played forward here. There's going to be a free kick here. There's going to be a free kick. Ben Mee, yellow card I would imagine for that challenge. Ben Mee went in very strong there. I think it's on Obiang.
Yes, it is, John. I think it's to be fair, I think he's a little unfortunate, Mee. I think he goes for the ball. I don't think there's any intent there, but he really did make a forceful challenge on Obiang, and as soon as he made it, I think he got some of the ball, but he also got the player as well. And certainly, I'm just seeing a replay on the small monitor we got in front of us. He had his first touch. I think it was an honest challenge, and there was contact with the player. But I can see, there's a case for that being a little harsh on me.
Yeah, it's the one where the defender says, "Oh, I played the ball," but he did come in from the back, Alvin.
Yeah,
I have to say.
I think on another angle I've seen there, John, he didn't get a lot of the ball either. In fact, I don't think he got any of the ball.
No,
it was a pretty reckless challenge on the second look at it.
And the other thing is, the last thing West Ham need is another midfield injury, isn't it?
That's right, and it looks like he is staying. No, that's not a good sign. They've got a motorised stretcher coming on for.
Not a good sign. No, they're bringing the stretcher on. Well, that was really unfortunate. Only 6.5 minutes had gone when that incident occurred, and Obiang is down. Goodness me, how long will that list be of West Ham midfield players out of action? I think I rattled through them earlier, but there's no way that Pellegrini is going to get his first choice midfield on the pitch the way things are. I don't think they're going to need the motorised stretcher, Alvin, but he is being led off by two physios coming towards us now. And Roger East, the official there, I don't know whether there's a chat going on with, well, there is, with Arnautovic and the referee. I wonder if he's just saying we'll be a bit careful, not trying to not that he would take any revenge for that. Now what's happened is Obiang is on the touchline, and they're just testing him out here, Alvin.
Yeah, it looks like he's okay. He's running up and down the sideline, so it looks like he's going to be okay, certainly to continue for the next few minutes anyway, which is it's good for West Ham's point of view. But I think Arnautovic was having a chat with the referee because there was a challenge that went in on him.
Oh, right.
That he felt was a little late as well, John.
Oh,
so,
right.
So he's just making the referee aware that they need a little protection, which they do, don't they, players?
Quite right. Quite right. Free kick to West Ham. Now, what would this be? 25 yards, maybe getting on for 30. It's too far for a shot, I would suggest. Round the ball, we've got Felipe Anderson. We did have Cresswell. He's walked away. And West Ham have now had their little committee meeting. And they're going to take the free kick, which came about because of that tackle on Obiang. Arnautovic makes a run into the penalty area. He's checked. He would have probably run offside, actually, but all that little pantomime is going on as the ball is chipped in here to the Burnley penalty area, and Dianwara now oh no, he hasn't got a foot to it. It's gone out to a Burnley player on the far side. In fact, quite a good piece of work actually there by Westwood, and West Ham have to win it back again. Here's Lennon for Burnley, breaking from the halfway line, plays it to the right, and a ball played through here looking for Vokes, who is, we know, a forward in form for both Burnley and Wales. And West Ham are working the ball quietly now in the middle of the field with Declan Rice. And Zabaleta, 33 years old, not far short of his 34th birthday, the West Ham right back. But he, of course, has the experience of being a Premier League winner. West Ham in possession, far side of the field. That's their left, over on the touchline, trying to work the ball. And it's going to come back to Balbuena and Jop, the central partnership, now really settling down as the two centre-backs here at West Ham. They've had a few games together now, although, of course, there are options all the time with the likes of Ogbonna on the bench. West Ham lost the ball there in the Burnley half, and Tarkowski's mistake, and here Arnautovic is there, and Arnautovic for West Ham, after 10 minutes play at the National Stadium, has given the Hammers the lead. Terrible mistake by Tarkowski, the England centre-half, but Arnautovic, just the man you want around when that sort of opportunity comes up. The top goal scorer gets his 5th of the season for the Hammers, and he took it well. Bad mistake by Burnley, but West Ham won't worry about that, Alvin.
Well, he's certainly the leader in the team now, Arnautovic. He's got the ability, he's got the pace and the strength, but he's got the willingness to put pressure on a centre-half, which centre-halves don't like, John. He does that, he really makes him uncomfortable, Tarkowski. He wanted too much time on the ball, and once he's actually got the ball and he's got one-on-one with Hart, he does everything perfectly. He's clinical, he's controlled, and what a great start. I think he deserved this start. He deserved to be 1-0 up.
Well, you said the first goal was going to be vitally important, and West Ham have got it. And there's a great bond growing up between the fans and Arnautovic here. All his 5 goals, by the way, have been scored in the Premier League. And with a record like that, the Hammers fans hope he just stays fit. Now Burnley are trying to sort of do something about that. There was a bit of a chance for Vidra to get going there in the West Ham half. Didn't come to very much. Neither did that for Vokes, and West Ham come into the Burnley half again. West Ham United 1, Burnley 0 in the Premier League on TalkSport 2. Good start to the game for the Hammers. Of course, they had the blow right at the end of the game at Leicester last week when they conceded in stoppage time. So to make a start like that will be really encouraging, and you can hear the crowd. They do get behind them when things are going well. And the stadium today, over 50,000 people here making themselves heard. Tarkowski now must be a bit jittery after that mistake. He hooks the ball forward. It's meant for Vokes. In fact, it's going to be a free kick to Burnley in their own half. And linesman on this side of the pitch is Matthew Wilkes, and on the far side Derek Eaton, and the man in the middle is Roger East. Free kick to Burnley.
One thing is for sure, it's about really building on that for West Ham. You know, they're 1-0 up. We've got two sides who aren't in great shape. You know, the confidence is not as high. And sometimes when you get a goal, is when you fit in a team that's lacking confidence, John, you want to sit back and protect it. It's important that West Ham don't do that. They look at taking the game to Burnley and adding to the 1 goal.
Well, the play is now back on the West Ham 18-yard area on the far side. and the defenders have coped with that and got the ball away. Felipe Anderson was available, and West Ham just moving it around now in their own half. It's with Declan Rice in the centre of the field. Rice finds Obiang, who's got back from that knock he took earlier. Now it's Zabaleta on the touchline down in front of us, and now inside again and hooked right across here by Obiang, and West Ham on the attack again. Oh, it's a nice ball through, and can Anderson do something with this? Well, Snodgrass was the one who should. It came to him, and it's gone out for a corner on the far side. Robert Snodgrass.
Excellent play by West Ham. Obiangu's on the pitch still and looks fit, I've got to say, after that challenge by me. He played a great ball out to the left wing, and a lovely bit of play as well by Cresswell, who played the ball in, and they are flowing at the moment, West Ham.
Snodgrass with the corner for the Hammers. Plays it short. Cresswell back to Snodgrass. A deep cross to the far post. Goalkeeper Joe Hart decided to punch that. I think he was a bit worried about the presence of Balbuena in the penalty area. The ball's gone out of play on the near side for a West Ham throw. So Joe Hart, who was here last season on loan, played in fact in West Ham's 3-0 defeat here to Burnley, and we'll see what fortune has for him in hand today. It's Zabaleta with the ball for the Hammers. They're in their own half now. It's hooked down this right hand side. Cover for Burnley in the form of Charlie Taylor, and the ball goes out of play, and it'll be a West Ham throw.
Well, it's certainly a bright start, and you can see the crowd have lifted, but they're still a little suspicious. West Ham have been guilty of conceding late goals in games this season, John, so the crowd, and certainly Pellegrini, will be more than aware that 1-0 might not be enough for them today. So it is about really getting a foothold in the game, which they've got, and continuing to dominate and take the game to Burnley. But Burnley, under Sean Dyche, you know how resolute they are. They don't panic. At one goal, you're always in the game.
Well, as you made the point there, Alvin, the Hammers have actually dropped 6 points from winning positions in this season. So the fact that they're leading 1-0 may not bode quite as well as they would like. But Ben Mee for Burnley plays the ball back to Tarkowski, halfway inside his own half for Burnley. Floats a ball down the right-hand side looking for Gudmundsson, and West Ham retreat, and picking up each other quite cleanly there with Cresswell and Rice on the ball now. Declan Rice, who's still to make up his mind whether he's going to play for England or the Republic of Ireland. That's an ongoing issue in international terms. Now, there's more live football commentary for you tomorrow here on TalkSport 2 from midday, because it's Wigan Athletic, who are just changing ownership, at home to Leeds United. Good game that. Kick-off 1:30 on TalkSport 2. Such a good league, the Championship, this season. There's so many possibilities there. And Rice now for West Ham. We're in the Premier League here. West Ham are leading 1-0 if you've joined us late. A goal by Arnautovic on 10 minutes. Hart kicks the ball clear for Burnley. They haven't really got going up front yet, Burnley. They haven't really managed to get Vidra or Vokes in the game, Alvin. I
think that's credit to West Ham. It's been a very positive start. You said it in, I think, the first 2 or 3 minutes, John, that they've started off very aggressively, wanting to play their football in Burnley's half and penalty area, and they've achieved that to a large degree. Maybe not created as many chances as they would like, but certainly it's lifted the crowd, and the crowd are enjoying the start of this game.
Well, the home fans will be happy enough at the moment. West Ham needed an early boost today, and they've got it thanks to Arnautovic, and they're now in possession on the far side of the field, with Anderson is playing as a sort of left midfield player ahead of Cresswell, but I think there'll be times down that flank when Cresswell will make a run and probably even get ahead of Felipe Anderson, because they're both pretty much hugging the touchline at the moment, I have to say. And they're also, Anderson's also, of course, capable, as we've seen, of coming inside and having a shot at goal. So he's on possession now, actually, in the centre circle, Felipe Anderson. West Ham's record by, and Zabaleta now plays it to Diangana. Diangana, number 45, on the right wing for West Ham. And now it's Snodgrass cutting in from the right. Snodgrass to Zabaleta. West Ham are playing with a bit of composure at the moment and confidence. Ball, actually, Arnautovic is just hanging back a bit there. Throw into West Ham, level with the Burnley penalty area. Possibilities here if they can get it forward. It's Anderson, and he's been fouled.
Well, you mentioned Anderson there, and he's a record signing, obviously, for West Ham. He's had a stop-start. You can see he's got the ability, John, but I think he's been a bit unfortunate that West Ham are without Lanzini, lost Yarmolenko, Wilshere, some of the players that he would have benefited from being on the pitch with. But there's a lot more responsibility on his shoulders to create. I think Arnautovic is the main man, but he's certainly second in line.
Yes, he is, and Diangana there. Oh, that went behind Arnautovic, that pass. But here's Anderson. Actually in the inside right position at the moment. This is Rice coming forward. Anderson back to Rice, halfway inside the Burnley half. The play goes out to the far side of the field. That is the West Ham left, and that's where Cresswell can come forward. Plenty of claret shirts in the Burnley half here as West Ham press. 18 minutes gone in the National Stadium. The ball is with Zabaleta, just inside the touchline for West Ham. Halfway inside the Burnley half, the play. Diangana. Oh, he's taking on Charlie Taylor, and Taylor recovers well, takes the ball away from Diangana and clears for Burnley.
Again, Diangana, he wants to run at people there. Just, had an opportunity when he'd made half a yard on Taylor. He could have got the ball across. He didn't fire it in, and that allowed Taylor to get back in. He did really well in the end, the fullback for Burnley. So just a little bit quicker releasing the ball, Diangana. He's still learning, as I said early on, but his decision making in them areas, he's just got to improve a little bit.
Right, it's Burnley with the throw down this left-hand side for them. The ball now comes to Arnautovic, halfway inside the Burnley half. Anderson is to his left, in a good position, and Arnautovic again! And Joe Hart makes the save to prevent West Ham going 2-0 up in 20 minutes. And again, it was Arnautovic.
Well, the main man for West Ham is having a big influence on the game, and you can see whenever the ball goes into Arnautovic, anywhere around the edge of the box, there's an anticipation around the stadium that something's going to happen, and it nearly did there. Him and Anderson linked really well. You give a little give and go with Anderson. He got on his left foot. You've got to give credit to the keeper. He comes out really quickly and doesn't give Arnautovic anything to shoot at.
That was a good piece of goalkeeping, as you say, and now the corner to be taken from the left-hand side. That's the far side from us. By Snodgrass. And it's a good. Oh, it was Balbuena, I think, who got up to head that. It's gone over the bar. So what might have been 2-0 to West Ham stays at 1-0. But Arnautovic again, the central figure, Alvin.
Yeah, I think he's a sultry figure. I was at the Player of the Year awards, and he won Player of the Year last year. And I had a chat with him, and he's a bit of a character. He likes to play a sultry sort of a leader, and I think he's somebody that responds to people loving him. Don't we all?
You're saying he's moody, are you?
But he's certainly having he's the player that I was hoping he was going to be when he first arrived.
Well, yes, he showed flashes at Stoke, didn't he, to be fair. Now here are Burnley now on the attack with Lennon. Lennon plays the ball short to Dufour. He curls it into the penalty area. Oh, that looked a bit dangerous. Vokes was coming in on Fabianski, who's gathered the ball safely.
I'll tell you what, John, if he doesn't cover that Fabianski, and then there's trouble, West Ham. That's a wonderful ball played in behind the back line, and Fabianski has been outstanding for West Ham. They've had a few problems in terms of getting their season on track, and a difficult start, but he hasn't wavered. He's been absolutely brilliant for West Ham.
Well, the Hammers still in good fettle here, 1-0 up. We're just approaching the 22nd minute, and that early goal, precisely what they were looking for. And 2 wins only this season for both these clubs. It is a day when neither one wants to go away with their tail between their legs, so to speak. And at the moment, it looks as though West Ham have got a bit of a stranglehold on this match. We shall see. Things change so quickly these days in the Premier League, and Balbuena is on the ball in his own half, and he plants it down the right-hand side for West Ham by the touchline. And Diangana has again got into the action. He's a lively player. Ben Mee took the ball off him. The referee says no foul. Vidra comes away for Burnley. He finds Lennon. The ball is still in the Burnley half, being passed around, and Taylor in the end elects for safety, and he rolls it back to Joe Hart, who thumps it down the left-hand side. And Sean Dyche out there, semaphore signals from the touchline from the Burnley manager as the ball goes out for a throw-in. And this will be Aaron Lennon to take it back to Taylor. Taylor playing at left back. Mee is behind him, and he's got the ball now, the Burnley captain, and he plays it forward to Dufour. I mean, Burnley do like to work the ball along the ground when they can. That is their style. although, you know, sometimes Sean Dyche has had a reputation as a bit of a long ball merchant, but I don't think that's entirely fair. And of course, they've had the experience now of playing in Europe, so there must be some advantage in that, even though I happen to think it rather made the start of Burnley's season more difficult. What do you think, Alvin?
Yeah, I think so. I think they've been forced into playing a little longer by the positive start that West Ham have made, and when you put the centre halves under pressure, they will take the easy option and play that little bit longer. But I think what he has got is a side that have gone a goal down here. They've got to stay in the game now, John. They're not going to do anything silly. If they were to concede another goal, it'd be a very difficult afternoon for them. So keep it at 1-0, and then maybe just try and kill the game a little bit, you know, because they had the tails up, West Ham, and they wanted to obviously carry it on and keep testing Joe Hart. They've had a chance to make it 2-0. He's made a very good save, but Sean Dyche will just say, okay, at the moment, 23 minutes into the game, we're 1-0 down. Don't do anything rash. Don't take any chances, and just keep it at 1-0. I think if he can get in at half time now at 1-0, he'd be more than happy, Sean Dyche.
Just caught a shot of Andy Carroll there. He's not one of the subs today, by the way. He's not back in action yet, but it can't be long. Burnley have the ball in possession on the far side. Oh, that's a low cross that was aimed very much at Vidra. It didn't get there because Zabaleta got in. It's given Burnley a corner. I did think just for a minute that Andy Carroll might squeeze into the substitute squad today, but crikey, it's a while since he played, and of course he does give West Ham another option when he's fit, but we'll just come back to Alvin on that in a moment, because Burnley have a corner, and Gudmundsson has gone across to take it, the Icelandic international, from the far side. That's the Burnley right, and somewhere in the forest of players there, I think Tarkowski and me are both up. So is Vokes. Oh, and there's a header which Fabianski just pushes to one side. Me came in there from the far post. Goalkeeper's got it safely round, but it was Ben Mee whose header could have equalised for Burnley here. Nods it. Well, actually, it wasn't the most difficult save, although Fabianski rather flapped it round the post, unorthodox style. Corner again here for Burnley, taken by Gudmundsson. Headed out. Arnautovic gets a touch on it. Back in again by Taylor. And it's safe for West Ham. Sorry, I was just waffling on about Andy Carroll there, Alvin.
I think the actual save there from Fabianski was made more difficult because I think Zabaleta got in his way, really, John, and you know, he ended up causing Fabianski more of a problem. But that's one of the problems that you've got with Burnley. I've said stay in the game. They switched off really, West Ham, leading up to that corner where Loughton got in as a right back, put a really good ball across the face of goal. He didn't make a great job of the clearance, Zabaleta, and that's the worry with Burnley. You know, set pieces, they're always a threat, and the delivery's been good up to this point.
Certainly has. The ball's just run out of play there for a goal kick to West Ham as a pause in the play. After 25 minutes, the Hammers leading by a goal to nil. Scorer Arnautovic. And on the evidence of what we've seen so far, probably deserve it. Burnley haven't really opened them up. And Fabianski is about to take a goal kick from the 6-yard box away to our left. And it goes right down the centre and swinging away right now. It's headed on by Zabaleta. Oh, and I think he's gone a bit of a collision there. The Burnley man appears to be has come off worse as Zabaleta was jumping there. In fact, neither of them came out of that particularly well. Zabaleta looks a little bit shaken. Charlie Taylor for Burnley. Well, it was a real old sandwich between three players, that, wasn't it? Charlie Taylor's injured, and the play will stop for a few minutes here down by this near side touchline.
I think they're difficult them ones, John. The ball's coming, it's a high flighted ball, and both players have got their eye on the ball. They can't see each other. They're both wanting to win it 100%, and you know, you don't know where the other player is, so you both collide, and you often see serious injuries there. Thankfully both of them are all right, but Zabaleta certainly wanted it, didn't he?
A bit more news for TalkSport 2 listeners. In just 3 days' time, we'll be bringing you live commentary of England's first test against Sri Lanka. The action is underway next Tuesday from 4 AM, and we've got every ball of the series live right here on TalkSport 2. Oh no, Taylor's made a mistake for Burnley, and he's just recovered. Oh, he nearly gave West Ham the second goal. Dian Garner was hovering. Burnley get away with one. And it remains West Ham 1, Burnley 0. And the ball's out of play on the far side. That was close.
Yeah, well, I think, at the back, I think West Ham have obviously come out with it with a view to pressurising anyone at the back. And if you want too much time on the ball as a centre half or a full back, you're not going to be afforded it today by West Ham. I think the encouraging thing from West Ham is they've been able to take the lead, and they haven't really had too many problems at the back. Vidra, who I think is a really good player, they've dealt with him well. I think they've dealt with the first long ball up to Vokes well, and if you kill that, then obviously Vidra's influence on the game is limited.
Everton have taken the lead against Brighton at Goodison Park, by the way. Everton 1, Brighton 0. And if you weren't around earlier, you may not know that Manchester United won 2-1 at Bournemouth in the lunchtime game. Scorers Martial and Rashford. So that's what we've got to tell you about the Premier League at the moment. Everything else, apart from here, of course, seems to be 0-0. And a lot of football still to be played. Wolves against Spurs, of course, tonight. Saturday night football, and Arsenal-Liverpool, a delicious treat in between. And it's Burnley defending here now. Ben Mee and Taylor are being questioned on the West Ham right flank, because Zabaleta's getting forward to support Diangana, and Burnley are trying to get the long ball going, but well, I think there's not much question at all that Jot was in charge of that situation, and he wins a throw for West Ham on this near touchline.
Well, they look like a nice balanced pair, don't they? Balbuena and Diop. I know that a lot of West Ham fans have been really happy with that centre-half pair, and he's obviously a really good athlete, Diop, and Balbuena is more cultured on the ball, a little bit more experienced, so they are a nice balance, a nice blend.
Just remind me, Alvin, who did you play alongside for the most matches at West Ham?
Yeah, I would have said it was probably Billy Bonds.
It was Billy, was it? Yes.
Yeah,
well, an absolute two heroes together.
That was in education, John, I'll tell you.
Yeah. Well, that was a combination, my goodness. Two of the all-time Hammers greats. I just wondered actually whether you had any other partners who did he play throughout your career, or?
Well, I think for about 7 or 8 years, I think, Billy. When I was a kid coming into the West Ham side, and then later on it was people like Tony Gales, Steve Potts, another really good partner. I struggled on until I was 37, John. So I had a few.
You did. You did jolly well, I'll tell you. You certainly did. And the kick by Joe Hart. You haven't missed any football, by the way, while we ruminate about days gone by. Mee's header for Burnley has taken the ball onto the halfway line. Burnley are still a goal down, and not looking so far as though they're going to do very much about it, but I may speak too soon. It's Rice on the ball for West Ham in the centre of the field. We're on the halfway line here, and now Diangara's got away on the right for the Hammers. He's got Arnautovic waiting in the centre. Two others are there as well. That's Zabaleta with the cross, and it's Obiang who has the shot from a good distance out. Remember, I think his last goal was at Spurs last January, but he was injured for a long time last season, the Spanish midfielder, and he's almost pressed into service here, because the rest of the West Ham midfield roster is almost missing. Anyway,
he took the opportunity on John for the volley, as you said. I think he might have been better having a touch there, because he had time, but certainly down this right hand side, as you said, they are looking pretty good, West Ham. They've got the youthfulness of Diangana, and he's taking people on. You've got certainly an advanced area as well, Zabaleta, so they've got a problem down their left hand side here, Burnley.
Well, they certainly have, and they're one down with 31 minutes gone here at the National Stadium, and it's Ben Mee who passes the ball back to Joe Hart, away to our right, as we look down from this lofty position. And it's clear. Oh, it's not cleared at all. In fact, it was a mistake by Burnley, and West Ham here could get in here, and Anderson was headed over his own crossbar. Anderson nearly made it too, but that is an amazing save. It really is. Anderson thought he'd scored. He was in a great position.
Well, it was an unbelievable error. They give the ball away. It was Westwood who gave the ball away, and how on earth Mee has got back to head this over the bar, I do not know, because Anderson looked like he'd done everything right. He'd beaten Joe Hart, and it's one of the best goal line clearances I've seen. It's brilliant by Mee.
Well, we'll go over that again in a minute, because that could have easily been 2-0, but West Ham take the corner now, and Burnley half clear as far as Diangana, and now it's Cresswell, and now Anderson is still well forward. He very nearly scored the second there, and it wouldn't have been undeserved. Oh, and now Arnautovic is free, and he crosses from the far side, and West Ham have got it all their own way at the moment here. Arnautovic still in possession, down by the dead ball line on the far side. Goes down. He'll only get in for that. I think it'll probably be a corner. But what happened was Felipe Anderson looked as if he'd scored, but Ben Mee, running back, somehow acrobatically headed the ball over his own crossbar with heart beaten. Breathtaking save by the Burnley captain. But it's come at a period when West Ham have got all the possession. They're about to take another corner on the far side. That's the West Ham left. Comes in now from Snodgrass, and there's the header. Balbuena was forward again. He gets up well for those. Now, Diangana coming in from the right. Oh, is that a penalty? Oh no, it's not. Diangana brought down by Defour. And, well, there's a yellow card coming out here. There's a yellow card coming out. It's for Felipe Anderson. It's for Felipe Anderson, who clearly, this is obviously...
Well, I think this is a good shout for a penalty. We're just seeing a replay here. It's Diangana who's got the ball. I think that's a penalty. I think that's a penalty.
I think it's a certain penalty. I think it's nailed on. But having said that, I think what's happened, Diangana hasn't been... I don't know whether the referee thought about booking Diangana for diving. The tackle was by Defour, by the way, but it seemed to me as though it was Anderson who got booked.
Yeah, it was, John, but I think what he'd done, he played on after the penalty appeal. Everybody in the ground, certainly with the West Ham view, thought that was a penalty, and I think it was, having looked at a replay. The ball broke, and Anderson went in. All right, he went in a little late. Whether it was a bookable offence, I don't know. Certainly a foul. But certainly West Ham feel they've been hard done by there. Yeah,
I think it was dissent that got Anderson into trouble. But yeah, I mean, I don't quite see how Roger East worked that one out. But then again, it's also quick, isn't it?
It was 15 yards away. He had a very good view of it. We have got the benefits of the replay, but
we have.
My first instinct, John, I've got to say, was that it was a penalty.
Yeah, mine too.
You can see by the reaction of Arnautovic and every other player that was close to that incident, they all thought it was as well.
Well, there's plenty of drama here at the National Stadium in East London. We've been playing for 35 minutes now in the first half. It's West Ham 1, Burnley 0. It could have been 2, it could even have been 3. Anderson was actually booked for a rash challenge on Taylor when the play went on. Most of us were still debating whether it was a penalty or not. Vokes for Burnley at the far side. Volley here. Yes, it was it's offside, Burnley. Yeah, what happened was, even though the offence that we think took place had gone, the play went on and Anderson was booked for a foul. But I almost thought to myself, well, if he's not going to give a penalty, is he going to book Diangana for simulation? But no, he didn't do that either. So there we are. There's a real talking point for Hammers fans at half-time today. But
one thing is for sure, John, I think that Sean Dyche will want to see half-time come, because West Ham are completely on top now. You know, they could have had 3 goals in this first 35 minutes, so they've got 10 minutes to go. I said about 10 minutes ago that he'd be happy to get in at 1-0. Even more so now, Sean Dyche will feel that if he can hang on to 1-0, they're still very much in the game. But West Ham will also be feeling, you know, they should have taken one of these chances. They should feel at least 2 goals the better than Burnley at the moment.
They should. Now Diangana again, he's coming in from the right hand side. He rolls the ball in to Arnautovic, who chips it to the far post. It's cleared for the moment anyway. Cresswell doing some work on that side with Anderson. Felipe Anderson making a bit of a mark here on this game now. And there's the cross, and I thought Arnautovic was going to pounce again for a moment there. The ball is still in the Burnley half. West Ham are still pressing. Declan Rice keeps the attack going. Snodgrass now on the left-hand side. Comes in. No, he doesn't. He's stopped by... Gudmundsson's made a mistake, so Snodgrass might get it in now. Cleared by Tarkowski. Anderson. And on this side, Zabaleta. Tried to play it back.
Great play by Anderson. Lovely ball to this right hand side, and you can hear the crowd now. They're lifting because they feel that West Ham are probably playing as good a football as they've played all season. Zabaleta got onto that ball by Anderson, just took it first time, tried to put it back into the danger zone. I've got to give credit to Burnley. It's all hands on deck at the moment, and they're really fighting for their team.
Well, Burnley have got a lot to do here. You're right. We've had 37 minutes. West Ham leading 1-0, but my goodness, 2 moments when it could so easily have been more. The header off the line, and then the penalty appeal for the foul by Gudmundsson on Diangana, and by Defour, and it wasn't given. So it's still 1-0 West Ham. And Burnley still looking for a route into this game, really, to be honest. And it's Lennon there. Vidra with a crossfield pass for Burnley, but that doesn't really take them anywhere. And they're running around a little bit in circles at the moment, Burnley. Here's Diangana for West Ham, halfway inside the Burnley half, attacking through the right-hand channel. Oh, and Arnautovic goes through between 2 defenders, forces a corner for West Ham.
Lovely ball by Diangana. Nice weight on it. Played it probably a little bit too far. I don't think he had the race on there to get there beyond Lennon, who's one of the quicker players in Burnley's lineup on Arnautovic. So he did really well, Lennon. But West Ham are at this moment in time all over Burnley, and they need to see something for it. They're 1-0 up. They need a second goal.
Well, let's see what happens in this corner, because Snodgrass has put the ball down. He's going to take it with his left foot from this right-hand side, and it's going to be 3 or 4 players coming towards the near post, and none of the West Ham players get the right sort of contact there. It was a good corner by Snodgrass. He's on the ball again now. Plays it down to Diangana, still on this right-hand side for West Ham. This time Charlie Taylor wins it from Diangana, and he plays it forward, and now, there was a chance of a break on. Fabianski is well out here, almost on the halfway line for the goalkeeper, because there was a possibility that Sam Vokes could have cottoned onto that through pass for Burnley.
Well, Cresswell was the man one-on-one on the halfway line. He tried to play offside Cresswell, and that is a really dodgy thing to do. You've got to be sure about it. The referee's assistant on the far side, I don't think he was going to put his flag up, so it was good for West Ham that Fabianski read that situation and came out.
Vokes is now chasing another through ball for Burnley. He's on the edge of the area, but warded off this time quite comfortably by the experienced Zabaleta. And I must say, I do like Fabianski. He was player of the season at Swansea last year, even though they went down. Very good goalkeeper, and he's made himself well liked here at West Ham in the early stages of his career here. Flicked on here, the ball for West Ham for Rice, and Rice still in his own half finds Diop, and they work it around so that Zabaleta has possession on the near side. Zabaleta to it's Diangana again there, but he won't get away from the fullback, and it's a throw into Burnley.
Well, Diangana hasn't had it all his own way, but I'll tell you what, if you ask Taylor, who's a left back for Burnley, if he's enjoying his afternoon, I would suggest he isn't, because he's a handful, isn't he, Diangana? Yeah. He's full of running, he's full of youthfulness, and he wants to get at you every time he gets the ball.
News from Goodison Park, Brighton have equalised. Don't know whether that's another Glenn Murray goal, we'll find out later, but they're 1-1, Brighton on Merseyside, having a good little run under Chris Hughton. And now it's Declan Rice, midfield for West Ham, who themselves will look back on this half, provided they don't make any silly mistakes in the last 5 minutes, and be quite satisfied with their performance, I would imagine, Alvin.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, I'm enjoying watching West Ham as an ex-West Ham player, I must admit, John. You know, there's times when I've come in, they haven't played great, and they're looking good again.
Diangana dribbling in from the left all the way along the goal line. And Burnley was shaking again there. It's a West Ham corner, ball's gone out. Snodgrass will take it from the far side. Well, this is an uplifting performance by West Ham so far, but I just say that again, how many points they've dropped from winning positions this season. I won't say it too often, put the curse on them. Snodgrass takes the corner for the Hammers, near post. Not really cleared either, and a bit of a mess in the Burnley defence there as they scramble that ball away.
Well, Rice is in there again. I've got to say, he's looking much more of a presence in the opposition's penalty area now, Rice, than he was last year. It looks like he's a part of his game that he's looked at improving, and again he fell on a ball there, his left foot, he just put it into a danger zone. He didn't have a chance to pick anything out, but they got lucky really, Burnley, and an element of luck and an element of hard work that's kept it at 1-0 for them.
Well, I think that's a good summing up, to be honest. And West Ham have possession with Zabaleta, and it's come back to Arnautovic, who's cutting in from the right-hand side and then plays it square to Rice. And Snodgrass on the ball now, he's in the midfield as well. and he plays it back. It comes to Balbuena, the centre-back, and he finds Felipe Anderson, who's now switched sides for a moment. He's down here on the right, just in front of us. Well, he's a long way away from us, but the near side to us. And the ball is played back to Balbuena. So, Snodgrass. West Ham have had so much possession in this first half, and Burnley, just at the moment, haven't come to terms with it. They've rather been standing off and watching too often, I think. Oh, a good bit of play there. Diangana's on the ball again, and so too was Arnautovic. But West Ham are moving well. Cresswell is well forward on the left-hand side. Arnautovic wants it just pushed inside. It's Anderson on the ball now. This is Arnautovic, 20 yards out, flicked on. Zabaleta's right in the box there, almost the furthest forward for West Ham. And they still have possession. They're still probing away. Obiang, edge of the penalty area, fires one wide.
Well, the football that they're playing is really dominant at the moment. They're getting their fullbacks into really advanced areas, West Ham. Their possession of the ball has been great. Declan Rice has looked really good in the midfield for them, and I've got to say that midfield three, Obiang, Snodgrass and Rice, have dominated possession. And once your midfield three play that well, then you're going to look good going forward, and that's exactly the way West Ham have looked. They've looked good. They're only 1-0 up, but certainly offensively it's as good as I've seen them.
Incidentally, no score at Cardiff, where Leicester are playing this very emotional match. 0-0 there, and 0-0 at Newcastle, where Watford are the visitors today. Those are the updates from the Premier League. And here on TalkSport 2, we've seen a very convincing first half performance, I would say, by West Ham. But we all know that they do have an Achilles heel. But the ball's down the centre of the pitch. Tarkowski was competing there with Snodgrass. It's hooked forward by Ben Mee for Burnley, and then it comes back to Diangana, and Zabaleta is in support of him, and it forces the Burnley captain Mee to push the ball back into Joe Hart's penalty area, and Hart straight forward down the middle, trying to find Vokes, who did get a touch there. Oh dear me, and Burnley have a chance here. They have a chance, and they have scored. It's Gudmundsson. It's Gudmundsson who gets the final touch. It's 1-1, and just as I'd said, West Ham have this Achilles heel when they're in the lead. I must have put the curse on them. Burnley broke away here, and what's happened is that Johan Berg Gudmundsson has somehow or other got himself free. I don't know whether there was some suggestion that he might have been in an offside position. I'm not sure about that, but the Burnley bench celebrated because Burnley have levelled the score in the 45th minute, and Gudmundsson, well, it was Vokes was involved to start with. Oh, he's not offside. He's not offside. Two West Ham players are playing him on. West Ham 1, Burnley 1, Alvin.
Well, Gudmundsson's run was perfect, and the ball into him was perfect. And once you have both of them being performed in that way, John, to that sort of quality, there's only one result, and he slips it away. It's a beautiful clinical finish. It's not what they deserve, West Ham, but we've said it, they've let one goal lead slip, and now they've got to start all over again. But you know, credit to Burnley. They found a moment of quality amongst all of the hard work and sweat they've been actually putting in for that first 44.
You didn't see it coming really, though, Alvin. I have to say, West Ham was so much on top, perhaps too much on top, lost concentration. And the two defenders either side of Gudmundsson could do nothing about it. But we've seen it again now, and it definitely isn't offside. So it's 1-1 here at the National Stadium, and we're in stoppage time at the end of the first half. West Ham have to start all over again. They've got possession on the far side. Arnautovic on the edge of the penalty area. A turn here by Snodgrass. And now it's Anderson, Felipe Anderson. Far side, Cresswell's in the penalty area. So are 2 or 3 others. And it comes out to Declan Rice. Rice coming forward now. Just managed to get a square pass in there to Snodgrass, and Rice continues to join the attack. Oh, this is a good West Ham move here. And oh, a save! Well, that was a decent shot, wasn't it, by Obiang, Alvin?
Yeah, he struck it well. I think he's seen it all the way, Joe Hart.
Well, he made a good save going to his left. And we're 2 minutes into stoppage time at the end of the first half, as West Ham tried desperately to regain the lead. And now Snodgrass with a touch. He's getting quite a bit of the ball in midfield, Snodgrass, actually. But don't forget, of course, we had quite a long injury break for Obiang, so there may be more time to come here as Balbuena comes forward. He doesn't get it though, and Burnley with Vokes on the ball away again, and they can't find Gudmundsson this time.
I'll tell you what, John, if you look at Pellegrini down there, his team talk has just changed in a split second. He would have been delighted with the performance of this first half, and now the scoreline, it tells a different story, doesn't it? You know, and a test is now on for West Ham. Credit to Burnley, they hung in there, they rode the luck at times and kept it at 1-0, and we said at 1-0 you're always in a game. Well, I'm sure it is positive to team talk. Sean Dyche at half-time will demand a little bit more of his team in the second half, but certainly Pellegrini will look at maybe trying to pick up where they left off, trying to dominate a game to the degree that they had and only have a 1-goal lead. You know, you always leave yourself open with the quality of the Premier League.
Yeah, they'll be reflecting now, won't they, on the penalty that wasn't, and also on the header off the line by Ben Mee, because either of those moments could have ended in West Ham going 2-0 up. As it is, it looks as if they're going to go in at half-time at 1-1. 48 minutes, the watch says, as Burnley try and clear their lines in their own half. Down in front of us here, it's away by Mee, down the middle to Vokes. Vokes, I think, unsettled the West Ham defence in the prelude to that goal. Hasn't had a lot of the ball, but he's made himself noticed, certainly by the defenders. And the ball is now back with Fabianski in the West Ham goal, down to our left. 1-1 the score here as we come up to half-time. And forward by Lowton for Burnley, but I don't think Vokes is going to catch on to that. And the whistle goes for half-time. A half in which West Ham were dominant, with Arnautovic giving them a 10th minute lead, but a half in which, not for the first time this season, they lost that lead when Gudmundsson scored for Burnley. Half-time at the National Stadium. West Ham 1, Burnley 1.
Thank you, John. Second half coming up on Match Day Live on TalkSport 2. And how many times over the years, Alvin, have you seen a team dominate completely a half of football and get caught right at the end?
Well, I never ever used to celebrate the first goal or the second goal that we scored. It was always the third goal for me, because that's when I thought, you know, in my heart of hearts, that the game was dead. 1-0, you're always leaving yourself open. But look, they couldn't have done a lot more, West Ham, apart from come up with a finish. There was some great defending. I mean, one of the best defensive clearances you're going to see for a long time with me for Burnley, when Anderson had beaten Joe Hart and looked like he got the all-important second goal. So from that point of view, things went right for West Ham, but you've got to give credit to Burnley. They're a frustrating side to play against. They hang in there, they don't panic, and then one moment of quality. I've got to say, the ball and the run for Munson's equaliser was quality. As a centre half, now and again you think, can I read it? You couldn't have read this. The ball bounced down, it went in, and the run went in at the same time, and he hasn't had anything to do hardly, Fabianski, but he had no chance for the equaliser.
It was interesting, when the equaliser went in, Manuel Pellegrini was absolutely berating his coaching staff. He couldn't quite believe it, because West Ham in the first half, Alv, have been so dominant, and it started early, and Arnautovic put them 1-0 up. It was a James Tarkowski mistake, and as you rightly point out, Ben Mee, an extra...
We're 1-1 against a team that we should have been really pretty comfortably off against. So it's a strange game, football, but what you have to do as a West Ham player and a West Ham fan and a West Ham manager now is concentrate on the positive things that you did in that first half, come out and do it in the second half, and you end up winning the game. But look, this is a Burnley side who don't roll over, as we've seen.
John was saying in first half commentary towards the end, Alvin, that, you know, Sean Dyche should be saying to his players, need a little bit more, fellas. You know, we're fortunate to be 1-1. It's great that we're there, because in the first half, if the truth be told, whenever West Ham went forward and got the ball into the danger areas, it was panic stations at the back for Burnley.
Yeah, certainly down this right-hand side, Burnley looked a little vulnerable. But look, like I said before the game, Burnley got a knack of nicking wins when perhaps they don't deserve them. They went to Cardiff and had like 3 shots on goal. Cardiff had 20, and they ended up winning the game. And I can imagine the stats are going to be pretty similar today. You know, they haven't really had too many looks at West Ham's goal, but the one chance they have got, they've stuck away. And West Ham have had 5, goal-scoring opportunities, and they've only got 1. Look, the game of football, how many times do we see it? You don't always get what you deserve. You have to make it. You have to make it your game, and that's the one criticism of West Ham. They haven't taken those chances.
Well, I can tell you it's going to be an interesting second half at the London Stadium. At half-time, it's West Ham 1, Burnley 1. West Ham having the lion's share of the first half, but Burnley hanging on in there and getting an equaliser through Goodmanson. Second half, live commentary coming up for you on TalkSport 2.
Matchday Live 2 on TalkSport 2.
Are you ready to order?
I'd love a prawn cocktail.
And I'd like cheaper car insurance. This is a restaurant, sir, but perhaps this gentleman here can help.
Go compare.
Good plan. Plus, you'd have got a discount off your bill here tonight had you bought your car or home insurance through.
Go compare.
And got your free Dine membership, knocking money off the bill in thousands of restaurants for a whole year.
Gosh, where do I go again?
Eat out more and fork out less with Go Compare.
Terms and conditions and limits apply, of course, sir.
Philip Schofield here. Not only have WeBuyAnyCar.com bought over 1 million cars, they say they really do buy any car. So I asked them. Even an Audi A3? They said yes. Range Rover? They said yes. Ferrari 458? They said yes. What about a Spentini Caravaggio? They said stop making up cars. To see how much your car's worth, enter your reg number now at WeBuyAnyCar.com.
Admin fee may apply. For more information, see WeBuyAnyCar.com/info.
Were your hopes of a Spanish property left in ruins? Did your dream home never materialise? Thousands of British buyers like you have been left with nothing to show for their investment. We're Reclaim in Spain, and if you were one of the many who paid a deposit on an off-plan overseas property and ended up with nothing, please get in touch. We're experts in recovering money lost on Spanish properties. To find out more, visit reclaiminspain.com.
Up at the crack of dawn jobs. Burning the midnight oil jobs. Finished with time to spare jobs. A bit trickier than your first thought jobs. Whatever the job, the Vauxhall Vivaro van comes with 6 years 0% APR for £199 per month. Just the job. Vauxhall, British brand since 1903. Conditional sale, 6 years 0% APR. Minimum 20% deposit plus VAT at 20% on total price. Financed by Vauxhall Finance, subject to status. 18+. Small business users only. Search for Varo 199.
If you believe in magic, tonight you can just eat. Magic is real, it's contained within an app. Put your feet up and watch Peking Duck appear with just a tap.
Magic is pizza, tacos,
Savoy fish and chips, shish kebab, vindaloo,
and spicy crispy chicken strips.
Just eat exactly what
Summon up your favorite takeaway tonight. Download the Just Eat app or order online now.
Forsooth, 'tis verily a Sunday afternoon War of the Roses. Valiant Wigan bravely tilted challengers Leeds in a championship clash. Chivalrous coverage from noon. Kick-off 1:30 on TalkSport 2. Gazooks! Online and on DAB Digital Radio. Matchday Live 2 on TalkSport 2.
And good afternoon to you. This is Ross Williams. Half times for you. Cardiff City, Leicester City 0. Both of them have got no goals. Everton 1, Brighton 1, Newcastle 0, Watford 0, and West Ham 1, Burnley 1 in our commentary game. In the Championship, Blackburn Rovers 0, Queen's Park Rangers 0. It's Brentford 0, Millwall 0, Derby County 0, Birmingham City 1, Hull City 1, West Brom 0, Ipswich 1, Preston North End 0, Nottingham Forest 0, Sheffield United 0, Reading 2, Bristol City 2, Rotherham United 1, Swansea City 1, Sheffield Wednesday 0, Norwich City 0. In League 1, AFC Wimbledon 1, Shrewsbury 0, Barnsley 0, Southend 0, Blackpool 0, Bristol Rovers 0, Bradford City 0, Portsmouth 1, Charlton 2, Doncaster Rovers 0, Coventry 0, Accrington Stanley 0, Gillingham 2, Fleetwood 0, Plymouth 0, Sunderland 0, Rochdale 0, Luton 0, Scunthorpe United 0, Oxford United 1, Walsall 0, Burton Albion 2, and Wycombe Wanderers 0, Peterborough United 0. In League 2, Cambridge United 0, Grimsby Town 0, Carlisle 2, Newport County 1, Cheltenham Town 2, Mansfield 1, Colchester United 1, Swindon Town 0, Crawley Town 0, MK Dons 3, Lincoln City 1, Forest Green Rovers 1, Macclesfield Town 1, Bury 3, Morecambe 1, Yeovil 0, Northampton 1, Crewe Alexandra 0, Port Vale 1, Notts County 1, Stevenage Borough 1, Oldham 1, and Tranmere Rovers 1, Exeter City 0. The Scottish Premiership north of the border, in the early game, Rangers 1 at St Mirren 2-0, and the half-times, Celtic 3, Heart of Midlothian 0, Hamilton Academical 0, Livingston 0, Hibernian 0, St Johnstone 0, and Motherwell 0, Dundee 0. Well, in the early Premier League game today, it was Bournemouth 1, Manchester United 2, and here's Jose Mourinho with Alex Crook.
Jose, always satisfying to win the game in stoppage time. Did you feel your team fully deserved the victory?
I think in the first half we were the luckiest team, because at half time the result should be 5 or 6-2. We were very, very poor defensively. Of course, we scored a goal and we had another incredible chance with Fred, but defensively we were very poor and we were very lucky. In the second half, before our goal, I was thinking that we are the unluckiest team, because in the second half we had 4 or 5 big chances. One of them incredible double chance with Ashley Young post and Rashford in the second ball. So I think in the end probably we deserved the victory, because in the second half we managed to change the game. But the first half was poor, and the first half Bournemouth should feel very, very sad and very unfair, the fact that they arrive at half time with a draw in a game where they should arrive winning clearly.
You made 2 changes fairly early in the second half. Do you feel that helped change the game in your favour?
If I said that, you said that I'm not humble. But I would say so, especially the under change. Because normally when you are not winning, normally you go in theory to what is called an attacking change. I went to a defensive change. But that defensive change, by bringing under to the team, gave us a much bigger balance. The team was more aggressive. The team was recovering more balls, faster. His security on the middle right gave us a chance to project more Ashley Young forwards, and I think we were much stronger after that.
Jose Mourinho, 3 points to Manchester United. Sounded pretty happy, didn't he, towards the end of that interview with Alex Crook? They won by 2-1. Second half from the London Stadium coming up for you. West Ham against Burnley after the first 49 minutes. It stands West Ham 1, Burnley 1.
The likes of Ogbonna on the bench. West Ham lost the ball there in the Burnley half, and Tarkovsky's mistake, and here Arnautovic is there, and Arnautovic for West Ham, after 10 minutes play, has given the Hammers the lead. The ball now comes to Arnautovic, halfway inside the Burnley half. Anderson is to his left, in a good position, and Arnautovic again, and Joe Hart makes the save. Coming in from the right this time. Oh, is that a penalty? Oh no, it's not. Dean Garner brought down by Defoe. And well, there's a yellow card coming out here. There's a yellow card coming out. It's for Felipe Anderson.
I think that's a penalty. I think that's a penalty.
I think it's a certain penalty. I think it's nailed on. And Hart straight forward down the middle, trying to find Vokes, who did get a touch there. Oh dear me, and Burnley have a chance here. They have a chance, and they have scored. It's Gudmundsson who gets the final touch, and the whistle goes for half-time. A half in which West Ham were dominant, with Arnautovic giving them a 10th-minute lead, but a half in which, not for the first time this season, they lost that lead when Gudmundsson scored for Burnley. Half-time at the National Stadium. West Ham 1, Burnley 1.
All square after the first half, the second half coming up live here on TalkSport 2. You're listening to Matchday Live 2. And TalkSport 2, you know, are supporting Movember. And we would love you to get involved. Grow a moustache for Movember. You can inspire conversations, donations, and obviously deliver real change to stop men dying too young. You can sign up or donate right now at Movember.com. Our next football here on TalkSport 2 is tomorrow, 1:30, Wigan against Leeds, from the Championship. 5:30 tonight on TalkSport. Laura Woods, Sam Matterface and Stuart Pearce bring you Arsenal against Liverpool. What a game that could be from the Premier League. And that's followed at 7:15, Wolverhampton Wanderers against Tottenham Hotspur over on TalkSport. Just a reminder, the cricket, of course, coming thick and fast as November continues. Live, exclusive, ball-by-ball commentary of the first test between England and Sri Lanka this coming Tuesday morning from 4 a.m. It's bright and early, and it's right here on your new home of live cricket, TalkSport 2. Second half about to get underway at the London Stadium. It's West Ham 1, Burnley 1 at half-time. I wonder what the second 45 will hold. To take us through it, John Motson and Alvin Martin.
Well, thank you, Russ, and it was a bit of a turn-up when Burnley scored right on half-time, virtually. West Ham losing their concentration. Cresswell, I think, has to take some responsibility for giving the ball. It didn't quite reach Balbuena, and Gudmundsson nipped in to score. And really, Alvin, it was almost Burnley's only clear-cut scoring chance, wasn't it?
Well, absolutely, and you know, they are so good at what they've shown us this afternoon. That's why they're one of the teams that we all expect maybe to beat, but it's easier said than done. West Ham have got to really start off where they left off, and if they play as well as they did in the first half, John, they'll win this game.
Well, West Ham have started off on the front foot in the second half as well. They've got the ball, and there's a bit of an opportunity for Obiang to move it forward, and also for Arnautovic and Diangara, who played well in the first half. Got a lot to learn, but he's got promise. And Burnley have conceded a corner in the opening seconds of the second half, and it's going to be taken over on the right-hand side by Snodgrass, and West Ham bring forward Diop and Balbuena from the back here for this corner kick. What a bonus it would be if they could regain the lead straight away here, the Hammers. There's the corner, curled in, oh no, and headed out by a strongly reinforced Burnley defence here at the London Stadium. It's West Ham 1, Burnley 1 as we start the second half. Forward now for West Ham, and oh no, I don't think Felipe Anderson's going to get that. Do you think he's a bit of an in-and-out kind of player, Felipe Anderson? Is he a bit inconsistent?
Well, I think you could have said the same about Arnautovic, John, when he first arrived.
Yeah.
You know, when he first arrived at West Ham, he didn't really get into his stride. He had a lot of people questioning the fee and his ability, and look at the player he's become. So I think sometimes you have to be a little patient with players, even when you pay a lot of money like they have for Anderson. I think he's a little unfortunate as well. Like I said, that Lanzini, Yarmolenko, Wilshere aren't there to maybe share the burden of creativity. But you know, certainly he's a player that has got the ability. I've got no doubt he's got the football ability. It's whether or not he's going to show it in the West Ham shirt.
35 million down and 42 maybe in the end for the fee from Lazio. He's West Ham's record signing, and that also weighs on a player, of course. He's got that to prove, to live up to that. And the Hammers now are moving over on the far side. That's the West Ham right, and Arnautovic has got the ball, dropping back into the centre of the field here, the West Ham striker. And
one thing is for sure, Don, that sort of Anderson, talking about him, he'll feel that he should have had a goal. I mean, how on earth, Mia's got back and made that header to clear the ball in the first half, I don't know, because he would have already been celebrating, I think, Anderson.
Yes, yeah, well, I think the West Ham people will feel that the most frustrating thing about that first half was that it was the penalty, or the penalty that never was. And I just have to wonder why Roger East didn't give that, because it seemed to me that Defoe just brought Diangana down. I didn't quite see where the area of doubt was. However, it'll be a talking point if West Ham don't win this game, that's for sure. They've got the ball over on the far side for a throw in, the Hammers. And it's real possibility for Obiang to move across the line here, and the shot. And Snodgrass had the shot, but it was saved. It was saved with some difficulty by Joe Hart. Don't think he quite saw it till late here, and it remains 1-1.
Yeah, he made a hard work of that, Joe Hart. Maybe him moving a little bit, maybe doing him a disservice there, but certainly the he flapped at it and it sort of popped back out off him into the 6-yard box, and it was me again who's been brilliant for Burnley up to this point, who cleared the lines.
Well, he's consistent, Ben Mee, isn't he? I mean, quite apart from that amazing acrobatic goal line clearance in the first half, he's steady as a rock. And it was Tarkowski, his partner, the England player, or England-capped player, who made the mistake which gave Arnautovic the opening goal. So neither central defence really distinguishing themselves on the 2 goals, I'd have to say. But now it's Gudmundsson for Burnley as they move out of their own half on the far side of the field. It's Charlie Taylor. Aaron Lennon is in the centre for the moment here for Burnley as they move the ball around. Defour, Tarkowski, Taylor. Burnley attacking down their left-hand side. That's the far side from us. And a determined run forward here. Well, I thought he was going to get Vokes in there for a moment, Aaron Lennon, but he couldn't. Oh, Lennon now gets the ball back. He's fouled his opponent. West Ham take a very quick free kick, and Declan Rice it is who moves the ball onto Cresswell. Cresswell to Felipe Anderson. And the second half well underway now here at the London Stadium. In fact, we've been playing nearly 5 minutes, and it's still 1-1. And the game is there to be won, as they say, Alvin.
It is, and I think, you do feel that, any mistake at this moment in time from either defence is going to be crucial. I think that when the half-time whistle went from West Ham's point of view, there wasn't a boo anywhere. You think about the contrast to the last time they played Burnley here. I think the crowd knew that their team had played well, and if they continue, they'll go on to win the game. But you do sense that it's such a tight game. Burnley not giving anything away. It could be just the odd goal, and it could be uncomfortable. You've got to be brave. You've got to keep playing. You've got to take chances now and again if you're West Ham.
Oh, and Arnautovic, a lovely crossfield ball to Zabaleta, who tries to cross from the right-hand side. Up goes Anderson, and it's away by Gudmundsson for Burnley. Promising attack that by West Ham.
6 of the second half gone. West Ham 1, Burnley 1. West Ham ahead.
And now Declan Rice just brushes aside Lennon, and West Ham have the ball with Cresswell, and now they've found a chance to try and get Arnautovic inside the penalty area. He goes down. That isn't anything like as blatant as the one that was turned down in the first half, though.
I think he was looking for it there, John. It was a lovely ball played in by Obiang. He played it with the right weight. He got the other side of me, but I think he was waiting for the contact and trying to make more of it there, Arnautovic. I think Roger Rees has got that one right.
I would agree with that, Alvin. And the score remains 1-1. And this is a match, as we said, right at the very beginning with Russ, before the kickoff. This is a match where 2 teams start off on 8 points, and neither of them wants to be stranded on 8. It's too close to the bottom 3. So there was an opportunity here today for one team or the other to move up to what would be 11 points from 11 games. It looked for 40 minutes as though it was going to be West Ham. But my goodness, things have changed. And now the question is, Alvin, can they put together a spell like they did in the first half?
Well, that's right. Well, look, again, Burnley, they know the second half that West Ham again have started off really bright, but they get together, they stick together, they throw themselves in the way of balls, and even when they're not playing well and the other teams are having the benefit of better possession, they don't give cheap goals away. So from that point of view, you always know that they're going to be in a game. And I think the problem for West Ham is that they've got to try and dominate as much as possible. But you also know there's going to be a moment every now and again when Burnley do have a half chance. And I think with people like Vidra, who I've got a lot of respect for, and Vokes, who's always an outball for them. You've got Lennon on one side, who's been relatively quiet. I think Zabaleta's handled him really well today.
On by Vokes, and there's danger here again for West Ham, because Defour was the player furthest forward there, and he nearly sneaked in. No, I take your point, because there's been some good work by Burnley in very small patches here today. I mean, Vokes there in that attack had just gathered the ball and made something, or suggested something might happen, and West Ham have got to have their wits about, and they really have. 6 points dropped from winning position, sorry. That's not good news. And if West Ham drop points today, they'll look back and think back on that first half when they really should have been more than 1 goal up. Goalkeeper here, kicking long from his own half. Fabianski. It's Cresswell on the ball now, must take some responsibility, I think, for the equaliser. But here are Burnley. It's Lowton on the right-hand side. Danger here as Burnley pile black shirts forward. And in the end, it's Diop who manages to get the ball away as far as Anderson. And Anderson now, and it's Arnautovic down the left-hand side, couldn't quite get there.
Well, Cresswell has to take responsibility there. There's a ball on, he should play inside. He gives it away, and all of a sudden they're 2 versus 2 West Ham. And they've got to be a little careful here, because I think Burnley can sense that there's something more in this game for them than just the 1 point they've already got. And they are actually leaving people forward now. And at times, when that ball's turned over, 2 versus 2 in a Premier League game is not comfortable for West Ham.
Certainly isn't. And they're on the attack again now, actually. Arnautovic is pointing where he wants the ball played in the centre. Now he's on the ball, 25 yards out, Arnautovic! Oh, and Joe Hart goes to his left and makes an England goalkeeper's save. And what a strike by Arnautovic. Didn't hesitate here, hit it from 25 yards.
But he has one touch there, John. He has one touch, and there's only one thing in his mind, and that's to unleash a shot. And by word, doesn't he do it well? That's going top left-hand corner. He's seen it all the way, Joe Hart. Moved his feet really quick, and it's gone out for a corner. But a great strike by Arnautovic. Got 2 hands to it, Joe Hart. But it was a great strike. Corner West Ham, far side of the field. Burnley get players back. Cresswell. Oh, and there's a chance at the far post, but it's gone away. Close. What they seem to do at crucial times as well, Ben. He's right there. Look, they have a lot of people in there who are willing to put themselves in the way of the ball, but now and again you just need a little bit of luck if you're the attacking team. A ball just to bounce down to one of your players, and that hasn't really happened for West Ham today.
Well, it hasn't, but it needs to, because we're 10 minutes into the second half. It was at this period in the first half that Arnautovic gave West Ham the lead, and for long periods they looked as though they were going to build on that. But here are Burnley now with Gudmundsson approaching the penalty area with Lennon, and there's a few flicks and little fancy things going on here on the edge of the box from Burnley, and West Ham need to be aware. Oh, and it's Lowton, Tarkowski, who manages to intercept that for Burnley and push the play back into the West Ham half. Charlie Taylor, the left back, overlaps. It's half away by West Ham. Finally it will be away by Snodgrass, and now Obiang, and the through ball is meant for Arnautovic, and Tarkowski is covering, and unlike in the first half, he manages to cover correctly. And 56,862 inside the London Stadium here. Good crowd, isn't it? My goodness me, where else do you get that? Old Trafford, the Emirates. A lot more than you could have got into Upton Park, Alvin, to be fair.
Yeah, I think they've seen a good game today as well, John. The scoreline might not be flattering in terms of what West Ham have done, but they've certainly seen quality football from both sides.
No question about that. I've really enjoyed it. Oh, good interception by Lowton for Burnley, and Vokes goes down the middle. Oh, this time Balbuena was concentrating. Got the ball away to Rice. West Ham try to build. Down the right-hand side. Arnautovic just waiting inside for the pass here. Diangana. No, they've lost it. But actually, I think what's going to happen now is the over-anxiety of both teams might lead to the ball being given away a bit more often. West Ham have it now. It's Cresswell coming from left back. Felipe Anderson on the left wing, just inside the touchline, on the West Ham left. Turns. There's a pirouette there and keeps the ball and plays it to Snodgrass. And I thought something might emanate from that, but I don't think it will. And West Ham have to start all over again here with Felipe Anderson. They've got movement up front. Burnley staying tight there.
They're just trying a little bit more, aren't they? Trying a little bit more to be more forceful, West Ham. They've got good possession. Their quality is not sort of quality they showed certainly in the first half, but they're just trying to force the issue a little bit here.
Well, they are. They've got to. Zabaleta over on the far side in the right back position. And this is where West Ham really have got to try and turn the screw on Burnley. Obiang, and that's deep, but it's not deep enough because Lowton gets ahead to it, but it's only out to Anderson here for West Ham. That's on their left, and it's inside to Snodgrass, 20 yards out, edge of the penalty area. Snodgrass on the ball now, inside to Anderson, and now Arnautovic on the edge of the penalty area. He could even strike from there, but he doesn't. Tries to pass it through, doesn't work. And Burnley, this is what West Ham have got to guard against. If they overcommit, Burnley will attack them on the break. Goodmanson on the ball. And I suppose, Alvin, again, we keep coming back to this thing that West Ham do. They are short of players in the midfield area with all the injuries and Noble's absence.
They're not as sure-footed, are they, West Ham, in the second half as they were in the first half. There was a cohesiveness and a confidence in which they were playing. It's not there in this second half. The key for me is getting the ball to Arnautovic. If they can get the ball to Arnautovic in the last third, then there's a chance that something's going to happen. But they haven't been able to do that.
No, I think that is very much the way they've got to go now at the moment, playing this formation. Of course, you miss a bit of creativity when you haven't got Lanzini. Yarmolenko, of course, was beginning to make an impact before his season-ending injury. Jack Wilshere, I don't know what's going to happen with his injuries. No one ever does. There really is a gap here, which West Ham are doing their best to fill. I mean, Snodgrass has had a lot of touches today. Anderson's doing his best, but the whole squad system is being stretched here at the moment for Pele.
I think he's thinking about making a change as well. It looks like he's going to come on, Chikorito. You know, I think that it needs that. It's gone a bit stale, as we said. They're just looking a little workmanlike at the moment, West Ham. They need a little spark. It's who is actually going to make way for Hernandez here.
Well, does that mean two up front then?
Well, I think you know the Snodgrass maybe is one that he would think about bringing off, and well, it's a surprise really. Surprise. I'm a little surprised. I thought Abiyanga's been strong in the midfield area. Well, but certainly the goal scoring prowess of Hernandez is going to add something.
Yeah, Chikorito, the little P, the Mexican, comes on to support Arnautovic up front. The referee wants that throw-in taken again. So this is a change by Pellegrini. West Ham really having to go for it, putting on another striker he hasn't had actually. But, well, for games I've seen, he hasn't had a great season so far, Hernandez, but maybe he can do it today. Anyway, the ball's on the right-hand side for West Ham. The cross is floated in. Joe Hart picks it out easy as you like. I always remember when Javier Hernandez joined Manchester United and there was so much talk about foreign players and Carlos Tevez and all that stuff. And Alec Ferguson said to me, you know, this boy, he said, you could have your dinner off his carpet. His house was so clean. My amazing compliment, that. A lad who just arrived from Mexico, he said, you could eat your food off his carpet. Never forgotten that. Anyway, never mind. He's on the pitch now for West Ham. World Cup player, of course, as many of them are. And it's West Ham 1, Burnley 1. If you've joined us late on Talk Sport 2, we're in the London Stadium. 16 minutes into the second half, offside against the Burnley player on the far side. But we do have some news, some other games. Everton 2, Brighton 1 at Goodison Park, and wait for it, Newcastle 1, Watford 0. Come back to that in a moment, because here's Felipe Anderson for West Ham down the left-hand side, and it's gone to Arnautovic. And it's been tucked back into him. And he's played it. Oh, this is a good move by West Ham. And Arnautovic. Oh, they thought they were going to score. Oh, my goodness me.
Great play by Arnautovic again. I said, final third, get the ball to him, something could happen. Well, this is a really tight area he works in there. Give and go, gets it back, puts it into a really beautiful area to attack. And Hernandez looks like he's going to get a touch. But it was Taylor who actually made the challenge. Good defending.
Yes. Yeah, I must say, it looked to me as though Javier Hernandez was favourite there, but Burnley survive. In it goes from the left-hand side for West Ham. And the other score I was going to give you, Newcastle 1, Watford 0. Could this be the day that Newcastle get their first win? Stick with us here on Talk Sport and Talk Sport 2 for all the day's events in the Premier League and elsewhere for that matter. Ball's over on the far side for West Ham, and it's going to be an anxious time this for their supporters. Arnautovic plays it short. Anderson's wandering about all over the place, and he's trying to tuck this ball into the penalty area, and Diangara's got a touch there. It's back again with Anderson. Arnautovic is standing on the edge of the penalty area here, hoping to get something off the back of this attack down the right-hand side. West Ham still keep the ball. And finally they do get it to Arnautovic, and he just rolls it back. And this could be a chance here. Oh, and is that Zabaleta up on the far side, Alvin?
Yeah, I think he just overhit it though there. Good play by Diagana. He got himself turned, but the run of Zabaleta was a good one, but just overhit the ball. There's times when now Hernandez is on. He wants to run in behind the two centre-halves. And what's that doing is pushing Burnley back, and it's given Arnautovic and Anderson a little bit more room to play in. So you can see where he's coming from, Pellegrini.
I must be getting old, Alvin, because I was wondering then why it was suddenly so dark at this stage of the second half. Of course, we put the clocks back, didn't we? Oh, goodness me. Catch up. Anyway, the floodlights are on and they're good here at the London Stadium, and it's going to be a half hour which West Ham will need to be careful in managing, really, in terms of trying to get back in front, but more than that, holding whatever they've got.
Well, I think they're asking questions now, and I think certainly the substitution has been a positive one for West Ham, but you can see that Burnley are sitting in there, they're doing what they do well, staying solid, working hard for each other, but also you know they've got a goal in them. I think they've got a lot more in terms of Vidra and Vokes of nicking a goal on the counter these days than they had even last season.
Well, let's see if they can. I mean, Vokes has just got a touch in there as you were talking, actually, Alvin, and so oops, there's a foul there. Foul on Dufour. Free kick Burnley in the centre circle. The referee stopped because there's a West Ham injury. Now Dufour, who was fouled then, was the player who we thought had conceded a penalty in the first half on Diangana. And the more I think back to that, I think that's going to possibly be a key moment in this afternoon.
Yeah, it was certainly a big decision. He's not the most popular man in the stadium, let's just say that, Roger East, because that was certainly, from I think a lot of people's point of view, and the neutrals, I'm sure, would have said that you see them given regularly. And Arnautovic is the one that's it's down. He's okay, he's up on his feet again now, but he's the man. He's the man that's got to pull something out the bag now.
Joe Hart forward with the kick for Burnley. Ball comes out to this near side. That's the West Ham left. Felipe Anderson is just in from the touchline, and he'll get a free kick for that challenge. Really important that West Ham build up and keep momentum now as the home side, because Burnley have, compared to their first half performance, settled now into their preferred pattern of play. And the ball is with Cresswell on the touchline, and Cresswell rolls it down to Anderson. Sean Dyche claps his hands, trying to motivate his team from the touchline here, as he has indeed for some years now. And you may have heard Russ with that little profile of Sean Dyche on TalkSport 2 before we kicked off today. Quite revealing, I thought that. And I think he's got places to go in football yet beyond Burnley, as Alvin mentioned earlier, alluded to that. Anyway, the ball's back in the West Ham half now, and challenged there by Issa Diop. Sends the ball out of play for a Burnley throw.
Dangerous part of the game this now for West Ham. It's 1-1. Burnley have handled everything that West Ham have tried to throw at them, and now there's a lull in the game, which I think is a dangerous time for the home team.
Here's Arnautovic crossing the halfway line and finding Diangana. Oh, and a chance for Felipe Anderson's in on Hart. It's a goal! It's a goal for West Ham! It's 2-1! And it's the expensive signing, Felipe Anderson, and he's the scorer. But good work by the youngster Diangana prior to that, and with exactly 22 and a half minutes, that's halfway through the second half, Felipe Anderson has restored West Ham's lead. It's West Ham 2, Burnley 1.
Well, a lot of space in there, Burnley half, unusual for Sean Dyche's team to show that. Arnautovic's got the ball. He plays a lovely little ball into Diangana, and you're right, he switches the ball on his left foot, sees Anderson to his left, and then it looks like there's not really a lot for him to shoot at, but I think he fires it through Joe Hart's legs into that bottom right-hand corner. Excellent finish by Anderson.
That's what you want from your most expensive signing, isn't it? Anderson with only his second goal for the Hammers, actually, but what an important one it could be. And well taken, I have to say, and a good build-up. And West Ham now have given themselves what I would call a second chance. They had the lead, they had the control in the first half, they lost it just before half-time, they've now got it back. Can they capitalise on it this time? We shall see, because now Sean Dyche and Burnley are going to have to take a few risks, aren't they?
I think what's important now is that the back line, the two centre-halves who have been praising today, Balbuena and Diop, they keep pressed up, they keep that back line as far up the pitch as they can. They don't give Burnley any room to play the ball into Vokes, who is very good when the ball's played into his chest, and then Vidra comes into operation. So it's important they play as high up the pitch as they can, and they keep dominating possession, which they have done for the large proportion of this game.
Well, it's a good assessment by a man who should know about playing at centre-back. How many caps did you win?
17.
17, very good. Including a World Cup?
Thank you, John, yes.
Right. Well, no, rightly so. I mean, goodness me. Let's praise our... Anyway, let's praise our contributors when we can, for goodness sake. But Alvin's point there was valid. I mean, he was talking about the combination between the two centre-backs, and this is another area of the West Ham team that's still quite new. I mean, you know, Diop and Balbuena weren't really here this time last year, were they? Well, not together anyway. And the ball is now back with... well, it's with, in fact, Balbuena, who's trying to get it down the right-hand side. Now, the only dilemma West Ham have here is... Well, let's wait and see what happens. Diangana on that side with Zabaleta at the moment. Oh, and Zabaleta offside. Offside.
Oh, that was close,
only
John.
Just. Derek Eaton, the official on the far side, raised his flag. I'd like to see that again, because Zabaleta was right in there, Alvin.
Well, that was a great run and a great ball. I felt he got the ball perfectly, Diangana. I would like to see a replay of that, but certainly down that right-hand side, West Ham have looked good all afternoon.
They have. That's been a key factor. The experience of Zabaleta, you can't underestimate it, can you? And now, here we go again. West Ham, Arnautovic is now spread out to the right-hand side, and he's going for it. He's cracking down that right-hand side. Oh, and Snodgrass appeals for handball. Another penalty appeal in the box. And again, Roger East waves it to one side.
Well, he does really well here, Arnautovic. Uses his pace to get down the right-hand side against Taylor. When the ball's whipped in, he catches it beautifully, Hernandez. He really fires it with that right foot. Whether it was handball, I don't know. It was a long way away, but certainly, you know, it was very close. I think they're harsh ones to give. When somebody hits a ball with that sort of force and you're only a yard away, what can you do? You can't get out of the way. Seen a replay of it now, John. He strikes it brilliantly. It does hit the hand of Tardowski, but look, I don't see how he can get away from that. His hands are down.
Bit iffy is the view up here.
It's not intentional.
No. When you're that close, how do you get your arm out the way? It was Hernandez who had the shot. Now, if I've got time, I'm going to tell you that there's a plan to change the rule about handball. FIFA have announced that at their next rules meeting, they're going to consider taking out the word deliberate. So any handball potentially can be a penalty. But I don't think that would have been if it had been, because he was so close. And his arm wasn't in an unnatural position where we can go on forever.
Good spell for West Ham, John.
Yes, here's Arnautovic, here's Zabaleta. Burnley have made a substitution, by the way. Burnley have made a substitution. It's Arnautovic now, plays it inside. And it's come to Rice. Declan Rice has the shot, deflected. Oh, into Diangara. And now another chance for West Ham. Oh, it's all happening over in the Burnley penalty area here. Oh, and play on, says Roger East there, when I thought there might have been a free kick to Burnley.
I think he got that one right. It was a really good tackle by Zabaleta. But look, the game now has gone very much the same as it was in the first half. West Ham are dominating, looking really likely to score the next goal in the game. But Burnley are hanging on.
I think Chris Wood has come on. Chris Wood has come on, who scored twice here last season in the 3-0, and Vokes is the man off. Vokes is the man off. Thank you, Alvin. Burnley have made a change up front. Sean Dyche is shouting and gesticulating from the touchline here. That looked to me like a foul, but anyway, that's the second goal we're watching again on our little monitor here, and how well taken that was, by the way. If you weren't with us when Felipe Anderson made it 2-1 West Ham, is it going to stay that way though? And Burnley now with Defour playing it forward.
Very positive atmosphere in the ground. John. I think, you know, there's a...
Well, yes.
The West Ham faithfully who are totally behind
You're right.
They know when their team's playing well.
I know,
and they have played well today.
But the only fear, Alvin, is this capacity they have. You know what I mean?
Don't dare say it again.
No, I'm not going to say it again. I put the curse on them just before half-time, blimey. And now here come Burnley. This is opportunity for Goodmonson to cross. Defour is about 30 yards out for Burnley. Floats a ball into the box. It's dangerous. Too long for Chris Wood. But Burnley press on, and West Ham might have an uncomfortable few minutes now, but Chicharito has found Arnautovic over on the far side, and Fernandez, that is, Chicharito. He's going again now to challenge Ben Mee. And Declan Rice intercepting here, centre of the field. As Zabaleta now. And Diangara, is he going to be able to keep this in? He is. Can he trick his opponent? No, he can't. He gives away a free kick.
Well, he's been lively. That's been a duel, hasn't it, between him and Taylor, the left back for Burnley. But Diangana, he might make the odd mistake here and there, but you know he adds something. He brings something to the party. He wants to run with the ball. There's always something likely to happen, good or bad, when he gets it. But what it is for sure, he's full of confidence. I think he's a youngster's, freedom to play, and the crowd like him.
Substitution for Burnley. Robbie Brady on for Aaron Lennon in the wide position. Brady, who played his first game last week after a long period out with injury, the Republic of Ireland international. He's on, wearing number 12.
Been really quiet, hasn't he, Lennon? I think Zabaleta's played a really good game on him. He's got really tight to him, not letting him have his first touch. He's stopped the ball going to him, which is the best way to defend, and Lennon has had hardly any influence on the game.
I was reading an article about Zabaleta this morning saying he's very keen to go onto the coaching and management side, and was even talking possibly about packing in at the end of the season as a player, but not on this form. He shouldn't. Done well for West Ham today, and I'll tell you, somebody... and Arnautovic has given it away, and Burnley are suddenly in possession when they didn't expect to be.
He won the ball and then he gave it away, and now he's won it again. One thing is, it changed on Arnautovic. He's a team player now.
Cross from the Burnley left. Not certain. Balbuena managed to hook it out for a corner on the far side, and however else you try and dress up the last quarter of an hour of this game, there will be some anxious moments for West Ham. Zabaleta is back on the pitch after a bit of a tension. Burnley have a corner over on the far side of the field, on their left, and Ben Mee is forward. Tarkowski is forward here. Two centre-backs both up for the corner, and arms being raised as to the signal as to what's going to happen with it. Looks like an outswinger with the left foot. No, it's to the near post and headed out. Oh dear, headed out by Cresswell. So Burnley keep things pressed in at the West Ham end here.
You said the word anxious. You can sense it. It's with the players and it's with the crowd at the moment.
Yes, at the London Stadium they know exactly this feeling. Many times they've been through it. Here comes the corner again for Burnley, and it's lofted high. Oh, the head is in! It's Wood. I think it's Wood. It's the substitute. It's Wood. It's Wood who scored it. Oh dear, oh dear. He came in behind Tarkowski, and he's equalised for Burnley. He's equalised. It's 2-2, just as Alvin and I was saying, surely it can't happen again. And Chris Wood, who scored twice here last season in the 3-0 win, he's come in there on this left wing corner, which was taken by Brady, who'd only just come on. And Wood has climbed there. Somebody's fallen over in the 6-yard box for West Ham, and the ball has gone into the net. Fabianski couldn't move, and it's 2-2.
Well, you've got to give credit to Burnley. It's good delivery, but really West Ham's defending of this is not good. It's Snodgrass who's actually with him at the initial movement, and he gets caught underneath the ball, something you can't afford to do if you're trying to defend that. Wood, he's big, he's strong, he wants to get his head on the ball, he does everything right, and no chance for Fabianski.
Well, we've got to say, well done Sean Dyche on 2 substitutions then, haven't we? Because Brady came on and took the corner, and Wood headed it in. So both the Burnley subs have contributed here, and with 12 minutes to go at the London Stadium, it's West Ham 2, Burnley 2. Oh dear. The Hammers fans will be going through exactly what Alvin was saying a few minutes ago. Another Burnley attack. This could get worse for West Ham unless they're careful. It's Gudmundsson on the edge of the penalty area, and it's Loughton. Oh, offside surely, offside. Otherwise it could have been 3-2.
Well, it's a very dangerous game now, John. You know, they've got to make a decision here. Pellegrini and West Ham at 78 minutes. It's 2-2. You know, I think they have to look at winning this game. So they're the ones who have got to take the game to Burnley. But Burnley this year with the now obviously the attacking intent they've got, I think Gudmundsson is a really good player.
Here come West Ham now on the attack with Arnautovic, edge of the penalty area. Oh, it's Felipe Anderson again, and he's clipped the post. Maybe shaved it, but it didn't go in. What a chance. It was a bit like the one he scored, Alvin.
Yeah, so I think it's an easier one than he scored, John. Arnautovic again plays the ball absolutely perfectly for him. He opens his body up with that right foot, but he's got to find the inside of the post. He finds the outside of the post, and really for a player of his calibre, he'll be bitterly disappointed he hasn't finished that off.
It definitely clipped the post, but it wasn't far enough in to make it 3-2 to West Ham. And what an emotional week it's been for Leicester City, by the way. They've taken the lead at Cardiff. Cardiff 0, Leicester 1 is the score in the Premier League. And Everton have now gone beyond the reach of Brighton, I think. It's Everton 3, Brighton and Hove Albion 1. And Newcastle still beating Watford. Oh, there's some stories there on TalkSport and TalkSport 2 later, I can tell you. And not to mention the fact we've got 2 cracking games still to be played today. Arnautovic battles away there on the far side for West Ham, and we're getting to the point now, 10 minutes to go. What you could, as Alvin says, it's the kind of stadium where you can really feel the tension among the West Ham supporters. They've got a moment to draw breath here, because Pellegrini's side have got a free kick wide to the right, and the ball is with Cresswell. There are plenty of players hovering about on the edge of the penalty area. Arnautovic was one of them, didn't get the contact he wanted, and it went through to Joe Hart.
Credit to Burnley here, John. They're throwing people forward. It's not as if they're hanging on for a point here. Whenever they get the ball, they're putting people forward, so they feel that they can win all 3 points.
Well, they do, and they've improved so much in the second half. And oh dear, Gudmundsson, oh, he's got it again, but battled out of it by Declan Rice here. And he clears down the right-hand side. I'm not sure there's anybody there for West Ham. Well, Hernandez is trying to get there. Mia's kicked the ball out of play, or rather, tried to. Instead, it's a free kick to Burnley.
Dane Garner there showing little naiveness. You've got to let him have the ball there. He's fouled somebody, and he's given Burnley now the opportunity to take the sting out of the game. You can't get any momentum up at the moment, West Ham.
Now, after this match finishes, stay tuned for the full-time phone-in with Tom Latcham and Dave Kitson. Call, now here's the number, 08717 223344 to book your call now. Get your voice heard before anywhere else on national radio. On TalkSport 2, 08717 223344. And there'll be lots to talk about, not just in this game, but this has given us enough. And the score is 2-2. That would mean 9 points each. Here comes a dropping ball, which is collected by Fabianski in his own penalty area. I don't think either side would feel so comfortable with 9 points, but it's better than 8, isn't it?
Well, one thing is for sure, when you look at the balance of play and the chances created, West Ham will feel they've certainly done enough to get themselves into a winning position here, but it's about taking those chances. And they've been a bit wasteful with some of them. Joe Hart's made certainly 2 or 3 very good saves as well.
Michael Antonio is waiting to come on for West Ham as a substitute. If he's as successful as the Burnley subs, he may bring something to the party. Diangara now over on the far side. And again Zabaleta joins him. Diangara inside. Snodgrass, Arnautovic just outside the penalty area. He's got a return pass. Arnautovic, oh, didn't strike it. And Felipe Anderson. Oh, goodness me, it's got in. He's done it this time, Anderson. It's his second goal. It's the 3-2 goal. He fooled Joe Hart. Oh, I say, West Ham in front for the 3rd time.
Great play by Dean Garner, great play on the right hand side. He gets the ball to Arnautovic. All of a sudden you think something's going to happen, a little give and go. He plays the ball to his left, and now Anderson is faced again with the same situation he had 5 minutes ago. This time I think he gets a little lucky. I think it's a ricochet, John. It's certainly a ricochet. I don't know if it come off, but it fooled Joe Hart. He couldn't do anything about it. 3-2.
Yes, it has clipped a Burnley heel on the way in. Arnautovic plays the first ball, then Cresswell. Oh, it's Ben Mee. It's Ben Mee who made the brilliant goal line clearance in the first half, who unwittingly, I think it was on its way in, actually. Anderson will claim it. But Ben Mee got the last touch. And so Mikel Antonio still waiting to come on, but will they change their mind now, West Ham? They're 3-2 up, but Alvin.
I think there's a good chance they will. I think there's a good chance he was an attacking option to bring on, but now, with what, 5 minutes of normal time left, I think Pellegrini will think, I've got to start thinking about holding on to this lead.
This London stadium is absolutely rocking now. West Ham led 1-0, got pegged back, led 2-1, Burnley equalised again, and now they lead 3-2. After an intricate little move, wasn't it? Arnautovic played a part in that, didn't he?
He does so well, John. You know, tight situations, a little give and go. His touch is so perfect, and his execution is excellent. And you know, he's a class apart, really is.
Well, I think Burnley come again here. Cross from the left-hand side. Oh, it's clipped the bar. It was very nearly 3-3. Well, West Ham, hearts in mouths. Wood again. Chris Wood, who scored the second Burnley goal. As that cross comes in, he drops back, gets away from the defence. Oh, it just clipped the roof of the net.
I think it's just slightly too high for him, John, but you've got to give credit to the left-back Taylor, who's got down there that left-hand side for Burnley. Poor defending, really, by West Ham, but once he clips the ball up, I think it's slightly above Wood. He can't redirect the ball down, and it glances onto the top of the bar. I tell you, I've thoroughly enjoyed the game. I don't think either manager would have, though.
I think, Alvin, we could call this a cracker. It really has been a thriller, I tell you. And off comes the young player there, Grady Diangana. He's had a good match, gets a good round of applause. Mikel Antonio, the more experienced man, is coming on to replace him. They'll want him to hold the ball up, Alvin, won't they?
Well, I think what he's done, he's just gone like for like. And one thing, he's had a very good game. Diangana's been involved in most things that have been good for West Ham, but he's very similar to Antonio. He's obviously fresher, a different problem for Taylor. More strength, I think, than Diangana, and he's got a lot of pace.
Well, what a match, what an afternoon. Very much in keeping, really, with the ceremonials we had before the game, because we shall be remembering this match for a while, just as we've remembered all the more important things that are on around this time. Now West Ham have got a free kick on the left-hand side, and that was more work by Felipe Anderson. Oh, yellow card here for the Burnley player who brought him down. And they're in no real hurry to retreat, Burnley. There's a yellow card been given there.
Yeah, that's the Loughton.
I think it was Loughton.
I think Diangana, you know, has had an excellent game, but so has Anderson on this left-hand side. He's predominantly played on this left-hand side, although he has popped up in different areas. Well, he's had his best game in the West Ham shirt.
I'd go along with that. This is Snodgrass, left foot free kick from the angle to the left of the penalty area. Declan Rice, I see, has sneaked up there on the far side. In fact, West Ham have plenty of claret shirts. If they score again now, it's all over. And here comes Snodgrass. Oh, and a volley! Oh, what a volley! Goodness me.
Wow.
That could have been a hat-trick, could it?
Well, Anderson really was denied in the first half by a fabulous defensive header by me. This time it's unfortunate for him.
Could have been his hat-trick. Oh, my goodness.
This is a strike that is really hard to keep it down and keep it on target. Unfortunately for him, it goes straight at Joe Hart.
Yeah.
And he palms it away. He doesn't even contemplate trying to catch it.
Nearly knocked him back into the goal. Well, Felipe Anderson, they'll remember him in this game, that's for sure. But Burnley break away again, and again it's Chris Wood getting a foot in when it mattered. As it turns out, the ball runs out of play just down in front of us. These are going to be the most anxious moments of the afternoon for the West Ham supporters.
Credit to Pellegrini as well, John. You know, he's always looking to be adventurous, always looking to make positive substitutions, and You know, even after getting the third goal and going 3-2 up, he still made a positive substitution. Antonio is an attack-orientated player. He hasn't gone defensive, and I think sometimes attack is the best form of defence.
Well, let's see if it is now. We're in the last 2 minutes of the 90, by the way, although these days that doesn't count for much, does it? So many goals come in injury time. The ball played back here by Burnley, intercepted by Felipe Anderson. Now he's got Chicharito to his right. He's got Arnautovic in. Oh, so unselfish. Why didn't Arnautovic go himself?
Absolutely. I think you're right. He's looking to play the ball in with his left foot. I think really he can get that, have another touch or even hit it with his right. The ball was played to him by Anderson. And Arnautovic is a striker. He's somebody who can score from that position. Why didn't he hit it?
Well, if you see that again on television, you'll wonder the same. Chicharito was to his right. I know he was being unselfish, but goodness, a scorer of Arnautovic's reputation could have just buried that and made it 4-2 West Ham. As it is, it remains at 3-2, and the anxiety is still in the stadium. Throw into West Ham just on the near side. They won't hurry with this. We are coming up to 90 minutes here, and it's a question then of what sort of time Roger East gives Burnley in added minutes to see if they can get back to 3-3. Wonderful second half here, really, and just the sort of football as winter comes in that you look forward to seeing, because it's been end to end. Now another substitution by West Ham, Angelo Ogbonna.
This is defensive.
Yeah, this is defensive. Yeah. And Arnautovic is going to come off to make way for the defender. Well, he's applauding the fans. He's not going to hurry off. And they're applauding him. Arnautovic, who's set them on their way after 10 minutes, who definitely had a hand in one of the goals that was scored by Felipe Anderson. And he gets a real ovation, the top scorer, as he comes off to be replaced by Ogbonna for what can only be a matter of, well, it's time now. Is it 5, Alvin? 5 minutes of stoppage time. Oh dear.
Long 5 minutes for West Ham.
Long 5 minutes. Long 5 minutes for West Ham. You've said it, brother. It is one. It's going to be touch and go again as Burnley get the ball into the penalty area. And West Ham hook it out, but not very far, and Burnley are threatening, and still this man Wood is in danger on the far post. Oh, and Declan Rice hooking it out there. This is nail-biting time, surely. Oh, and Ashley
West Ham
Barnes.
are starting to sit deep now. They're starting to sit deep and encourage Burnley to come at them. They've got to get out of that half. They've got to get as far up the pitch as they can, because they're playing into the hands of Burnley the deeper they stay.
Ashley Barnes has replaced Vidra, by the way, for Burnley, and West Ham have got a counter-attack on here. Vidra off, Ashley Barnes on. They've thrown everything at it now, the two managers, in terms of substitutions. And we'll just wait and see whether West Ham can, well, I think whether they can hang on is probably the right expression, because Burnley have got the ball in the West Ham half, but not for long. It's Felipe Anderson, and West Ham are breaking again. And there's a chance on here for Chicharito Hernandez! He's done it. The Mexican has done it. It's 4-2 to West Ham in injury time.
Well, this is a wonderful goal on the break. Sucker punch, but quality ball. A quality ball. Once it arrives at Antonio on his chest, he does it perfectly, chests it into the path of Hernandez. It looks like he left it behind him, but then he drags it with his right foot into his path. And then you think, can Hart come out and not give him anything to shoot at? It looked like he'd done his job well, Hart, but he found the top left-hand corner. It's a finisher's goal, a really clinical finish.
Yeah, put it away with his left foot after controlling it with his right. And he hasn't had the best of starts to the season, Javier Hernandez, taken off on Wednesday, but my goodness me, they'll remember that moment. And West Ham are leading by 4 goals to 2 in a game where they lost the lead twice. Work that one out. What it means is it's almost a yellow card been shown there. I think there's a bit of time wasting by Burnley on the kickoff. Don't know why, because it's their time, but still. We've played 3 minutes of the 5 that Roger East had signalled, and if it stays like this, this stadium is going to erupt into joyful celebration when the whistle goes. But Burnley have possession at the moment over on the far side. Wood, who's made a big impact since he came on.
Well, John, there's been a lot made of the stadium, the atmosphere. Well, when that fourth goal went in, there was nothing wrong with the atmosphere.
No, it was fabulous.
It's all about the football.
Here he goes again. It's Hernandez. He's off again. And oh, I think it was Obiang who was trying to help him there, but it's building up, or it has built up into such a climax, this game. I mean, I think everybody will be glad of get their breath back when the final whistle goes, and that can only be about 1 minute away. It's the highest scoring game in the Premier League today, by the way, easily outscoring the others. Everton 3-1 against Brighton at the moment. Newcastle only 1-0, but that would be good enough for them for a first win of the season against Watford. And in the meantime, handball given, oh, it's a throw-in actually, I think, to West Ham on the far side. They've got time now just to see out this remaining 60 seconds or so. And just wonder how many times, well, they beat Manchester United, didn't they? There have been some good moments for West Ham in this stadium, but a game that's fluctuated and swayed like this one, I don't think I've seen one here quite like that. Albion's probably played in many at Upton Park, but anyway, here come West Ham.